Welcome to a special Frontiers Health episode of the Pharma Forum podcast. This is your host, Nicole Raleigh, and in order to mark the 10th anniversary of Frontiers Health, Pharma Forum is running a short series in the run-up to November, speaking with experts in their field about their favourite memories from the conference over the past decade and the future of health more generally. In this episode, I'll be speaking with commercial strategy expert Pilar Fernández Hermida, founder of iExpand, a commercial strategy firm focused on assisting health tech and deep tech companies grow and monetize. Welcome, Pilar.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to be here with you today.
So, as listeners of this special Frontiers Health series will perhaps know, Frontiers Health is hosted and powered by Avasana. It's a conference which has emerged as one of the premier global health innovation events. With a strong focus on digital therapies, breakthrough technologies, healthcare transformation, investments, and ecosystem development, it provides an opportunity for practitioners of disruptive health to engage in highly inspirational, informative, grantedly sometimes controversial, sessions and conversations, all of which are intended to provide companies, entrepreneurs, and venture capitalists with a useful roadmap, key insights, top-level learning, and unparalleled networking. To kick things off today, though, Pilar, perhaps you could introduce yourself briefly to listeners and describe the journey and the passions that have driven you to doing the work that you do today.
Lovely. Thank you so much for having me here today. Hoping I summarize a 20 plus year career, I would probably simply say that for the last 20 plus years, I have been taking technology solutions to market across 6 continents. A big part of that has been done in the healthcare space. And in that respect, the commercialization journey has been pretty diverse, from signing regional deals to standardizing digital health solutions at national level, or to standing on the roof of a building in the middle of DRC, Congo, to pick up a signal, because I have also worked in what we call now the developing world in very, diverse areas, What can I share, to the audience as a learning point, from having such a diverse geographic scope? But first of all, free reflection. Healthcare is fragmented because how we receive, deliver, and pay services changes country by country and even within the country. However, in all this fragmentation, there are some classes of commonalities that we can extrapolate and use in order to go to market more successfully. Number 2 is an overall perception or reflection, about the overall tech market. That is not the best product, but usually the best business model that makes a big success in the market. I mean, it's like how you go to market, commercially speaking, is as important, if not more important, than the product you build, especially in the last 10 years, where there is a tsunami of products and apps that absolutely look the same. Just to give a statistic, in the last, according to IQVIA, there have been 1 million medical apps created in the last 7 years. And at the moment, you can access something like 350,000 medical apps. So the differentiator is not the what, but how you go to market, distribute, and get paid for that. Yeah. And number 3 is that I feel as well that why I'm doing what I'm doing now, stressing the importance of commercialization, is that I do believe, and this is a bit controversial, but this is also the spirit of Frontiers Health, that startups have lost their real North Star. The number one investor is not the VC or the person paying your check. It's the customer who buys your solution. They don't ask you for a term sheet. They just ask you to build something that they need in the terms that they can pay for, in a way that they can adopt it. Yes? So it's about value. And I think looking at the amount of hashtags, build product, MVP, nobody is really talking about the real innovation that really needs to happen in the sector, which is around business model. Who's going to pay for all of this? Yeah. How can we get people to adopt these solutions, adopt new ways of doing medicine, technically? And this is the area where we need to focus more on the go-to-market, on the innovation around the business models, yeah? And take, everybody, the sector along the way. So bridge that gap that's the reason why I launched and expand, because that's what we do. I mean, you explained during the nice introduction, we do commercial strategy, go-to-market strategy. Simply said is, where do you go and why, with what, with whom, and how do you make money? Easy questions, difficult answers, yes? And we do that for companies, of course. We focus very much on startups and scale-ups, although companies are becoming bigger in terms of clients. But we also check the other side. Like, we also work for family offices who want us to check if their investments will make their own money so that they can de-risk their portfolios. So we also do commercial due diligence for family offices and investors. And also, because what we are talking here about is a capacity building gap as well, we also build know-how around commercial strategies. So today, in partnership with different hubs and accelerator, we have delivered 37 commercial strategy programs, in more than 500 companies have been through that. So that's in a nutshell, hashtag commercial strategy, hashtag health tech, biotech.
Thank you, Pilar. And we will come back to the hows that you were alluding to in that introduction. And I still have in my mind a very vivid image of you on a rooftop trying to get a mobile signal in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Moving on, though, and focusing on this word controversial, let's bring it back to Frontiers Health. What has been your favorite memory from a past Frontiers Health conference?
I will give you the obvious part that why Frontiers Health stands out, because there is also a lot of events out there. So it's difficult to stick out, but Frontiers Health is always at the frontier doing that very well, pun intended. So I reflect on I did attend an event in Milano 3 years ago. It was just we were still post-COVID. And obviously, something that stood out is what makes Frontiers Health what it is. I mean, I always say good entrepreneurship is about excelling in 3 areas, which is strategy, people, and execution. And in a nutshell, that's what Frontiers Health is about, is they bring, incredible agenda with all the topics that we must cover, but in the way we must look at them, they bring the right people, incredible faculty of speakers and attendees, and feels very special. And obviously the execution is seamless. But what happens when you do it in such a way that you don't notice I always say that you always notice when there is an issue with execution, when there is an issue, because if you don't, you just focus on what's really important. And what I remember from that event in Milano is that we just focused on what was really important, which was enjoying the content, having the time to think about what we were listening, debating, and networking. But there is something I remember very distinctively. I don't know if this is, but it's how, at the end of the day, when you meet somebody or when you attend something, you live with a feeling, yeah? It's very irrational. And what I remember was the team. I mean, it just felt like, just remember then seeing them all preparing, constantly, like little corners there, just not to disturb us. But it felt like a big family hosting us for something. Like in this case, there was an event. And I think what makes it stand out is the soul. I think Roberto and the team have built something very special. And it shows that you can still be very, very professional and still keep, the human aspects and the soul aspects of that. So it's like a big familia. So this is what I remember. So that's why I'm really, really excited, to be back this year.
Absolutely. And I agree with you, that familial feel and the soul of Roberto and team. So if we think now of what you were discussing earlier, which is commercialization, and we discuss commercialization of new technologies such as advanced therapies and foundational tech like AI, I was wondering if you could tell us how CGTs, for example, can become more accessible and how technology can help.
That's a very interesting question. And these next 2 questions are, I will always say as a disclaimer, is work in progress. And I'll explain why later. Because that's what the thing is. You create something first and then the new business models follow. The same thing that Google didn't know they were going to make all the money with advertisement. It just happened afterwards, yeah. But there is something that we need to acknowledge is what is the real root problem or bottlenecks of adoption, yeah? Everybody's talking about the what. Here we focus on the how and the why, yeah? Why it's not happening or happening. And going to advanced therapies or what people call them cell and gene therapies, CGTs, yeah, depending on the geography. Of course, they're the hot ticket and tongue. Everybody's talking about CAR-T, but everybody knows why, one of the reasons why it makes headlines is that you have prices going up to 2 million per dose. I mean, they're the most expensive therapies in the world, yeah? And even though what baffles me, that these novel drugs are incredibly expensive and risky to develop, yes, most biopharma businesses ask commercial questions too late. And here is like, I follow Jason Foster, he's the CEO of Ori, and one company I admire a lot. And that's why I thought I would drop the name, one to follow. He shared recently some statistics that should take away some myths, about CAR, because everybody thinks always about safety, about approvals, yeah? And this is a statistic that should be in every biotech investor's mind. CAR-T therapies, CAR-T is one of the most famous therapies in this group, are 3.2 times more likely to clear FDA approval in phase 1 than the average oncology drug. This is exploration analysis by New Dick's initiative of TUFTS, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So this could be a war for some people. Some people might be, because we focus in the same way that we talk constantly about patient safety, I will not say not to do things, but we just use that as a constant friction. This is the friction point that people highlight. So it's not that cell therapies aren't showing clinical results. I mean, it's a journey, yes, but some of them are there because they are. Some of them are. The issue is that they are not succeeding commercially. So in CGTs, if you look at them, they don't follow traditional path from clinical to commercial and distribution like normal molecules, yeah? What's unique to CGTs is that the clinical trial logistics and supply chains are part of the commercial plan. So you need, in order, to materialize this opportunity with a business model that holds up, processes need to break at scale, manufacturing should deliver enough doses to patients, and economics should deliver profits. And they are not at the moment. So we need to find a way, to break this broken model, to get away, from this vicious circle, yeah? So, and the science is doing its part, but the manufacturing business model isn't. So this is where we should focus on. So how can technology make CGTs more accessible, approvable, and affordable, right? And this is a bit the bottleneck. Tech aside, technology aside, of course, there are some new ways, people are looking at to make them a bit more affordable or accessible. For instance, people are moving production to cheaper locations. This is the low-hanging fruit. People are manufacturing as well at the point of care. For instance, Hospital Clinic of Barcelona is doing that with a CAR-T therapy. There is a shift to a discussion about allogenic, off-the-shelf therapies to save time and money. We deliver. There are some issues there, but this is not for me to comment. And regulation can help too, because, for instance, from 2025 this year, all European CGTs can undergo a single HTA assessment. Yeah. So this all helps, but technology, from a technology point of view, technology can be a game changer. It's not going to be the one-off solution, but it's going to be part of the solution to make these therapies more accessible and affordable. So automation is an obvious one. How do you go from producing one drug to 1,000? And going back to this platforms like AutoBio, digitize manufacturing processes, streamline productions, reduce costs. Recently, Bristol Myers also announced a partnership with Stellaris to manufacture cell therapies at industrial scale. So this is number one, no? Workforce solutions can also join these fragmented pathways, because if we think that health tech, workflows, the typical workflows are fragmented, these ones are even more. So you can join from anything from cellular orchestration to logistics and procurement and make data sharing interoperable and compliant. That will solve a lot of bottlenecks, yeah? And obviously, being 2025, we cannot finish without mentioning AI. There are a lot of interesting use cases in the areas of target identification, patient selection, pharmacotechnology, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the thing is we need to, but if we look at, to summarize, the section, we are talking mostly here, it's about distribution and supply chain fit and the business models that will support that. Because at the moment, the drugs that are being removed from the market, they are not removed based on safety or clinical aspects of that, they are based on the fact that they are not viable for the biotech companies.
Exactly. So if we focus on that word viable, how can AI-enabled solutions become viable businesses?
This is the $1 million or $1 billion question, because looking at the current valuations, 1 million is nothing. I would just take a step back, because AI, at the moment, everybody's an AI company. And to me, it feels like internet and the 90s, everything is internet, even though, everything could be on internet, but it doesn't mean you're an internet company. Yeah. And it's the same thing for anybody out there, whether you are in health tech, biotech, adjacent fields, because basically, are you an AI company or a company applying AI to the main product? Or are you just, an ML company with something like AI sprinkled on it? I mean, it's like not every company has to be an AI company to be successful. I should argue that we need a lot of things that have nothing to do with AI. So this is controversial for many people, but we need automation. We need a lot of things that are not AI per se, technically, yes? They're ML and other things. In the sector of healthcare or health tech, we need a lot of simple solutions to fix big problems as well. And it's what I call the mop. The mop was a very big invention, but it was not invented till the 50s. Till then, women were scrubbing the floor on their knees overall in the world. And people think, how come nobody came out with that before? I just don't know. It just baffles me. So there is a lot of low-hanging problems that we need to fix that they don't require AI per se. So this is number one. What are you as a company? If you do use AI or AI is part of your value proposition, how are you deriving value from AI? Meaning, are you using AI to improve your organization, your product or services? Yeah, indirectly. Or are you using AI to build a product or services that you will market? Because it's very different. The one is like indirect value. Yes. So you make money in a different way. This could help enhance that. So it's a different business model. And the second one is for you to go to market with something AI driven. And this is when we come to the third question. And the third question is, are you going to be a pick and shovel? Meaning, are you going to enable something for somebody else by providing an AI tool? Yes, pick and shovel. Think of that, descriptive as the model. Or are you creating an AI-enabled therapy or solution? So you build something with AI that you will market. And why is this difference very important? Is because the first model is where you see most of the companies at the moment making money. Enablers, the ones who tell you build on our platform, build on us, use our tools. Yeah, they're having a good time. Just look at the evaluations in the stock market. Yeah, who's making money? And then the other ones, not so much, because this is where there is a bit of a dislocation between those who are making a lot of money, like in the gold rush. I mean, the first millionaires from the gold rush were not the ones getting volumes, of gold. It was Levi Strauss, it was the picks and shovel. That's where it's coming from, yeah? So NVIDIA, just now the baby is the flagship of AI. NVIDIA started with the game industry 30 years ago, but there was no gaming industry at that time. But they became a pick and shovel for companies like Nintendo, who opened the market by using NVIDIA as part of their offering, embedded into their solutions. So there's always, it's a good market for picks and shovels or enablers, because we still don't know what we are going to produce. We don't have very strong use case out there based on AI. We don't have an AI generated drug out there, for example. But we have platforms enabling AI discovery, repurposing based on AI. Yeah. So these are enablers, which take us to the next level, which is, are you going to be a platform or a pipeline business? Meaning platforms will enable people, to build on them. You are a platform that provides, specific tools, applications, what have you. Yes. So normally, like sometimes you put parties together, like patients with clinical trial providers, etc., etc. But if you are a platform, so that normally for platforms, money is a lagging indicator. The average time for a platform to monetize, it's successful because it's an incredibly difficult business model, is 7 years plus. So you will not make money up front because you will be busy building the community, building the complementors, building the tools, etc., putting the sites together. This is the business model. I'm not talking technology model, but business model. If you are a pipeline product, like a point solution or something like that, you just follow more traditional pathway. Yes. The question is, how will you make money if you are an AI-enabled type of solution? But the thing is there, for instance, one tip that I can give is most platforms that are successful start by focusing on one point, offering one point solution. That's how you buy time. Because at the end of the day, it's about buying time. People forget, for example, about this point solution that Amazon started selling books online, physical books, before they became that big platform, e-commerce platform. Yeah. This is something for you to kind of take into account. So are you an AI company or not? Yes. How will you derive value from AI? Will be for to improve your own delivery of services and products, etc., or will you build something based on AI to market? Will your product be a pick and shop, or it's going to be AI built therapy or solution? Will you be a platform or a pipeline business? And for both, how can you buy time? Because we still don't know how to pay for a lot of things like precision medicine. But I think this we can discuss later. But overall, it's just to give you an overview. Well, I say 20 plus just to make myself a bit younger, but it's getting closer to 3 decades now in the market. And I can tell you something, the sector is perverse at the moment in terms of commercialization. Mm-hmm. Because before you could say the last two waves of technology, and I remember them, my internet first, the cloud second, yeah, and now this one, yeah. You always had a bit of wedge to make some money before commoditization hit. Yes, like I always say the first ringtone creator made millions, and then everybody was a copycat. But at least this guy was a guy. He had 1 year making some money, yeah? Now everything is a very fast ringtone because there is too much of the same and too fast. Models, this, that. I mean, now Epic yesterday is going to say we're going to do our own AI ambient voice, of course. They have the captured, audience. So all of a sudden, markets disappear overnight, technically, or get commoditized because big tech also has the bad habit of dumping the market, meaning offering things for free that other people charge for. So even though you are beta, you are not cheaper, and then that puts the price down. So it's very, very difficult actually at the moment to make money because, and this is the perverse part that I hinted at the beginning, commoditization is happening before adoption, wide adoption. So it's not that it's not needed. The infamous market product fit is that there is no distribution and pricing fit. So my thing is you need to market for business connoisseurs at the moment, go to market, and you have to throw all your tools there and buy time, stay viable and anticipate, before you get overnight, it could be an announcement, a partnership where even your target customer could become your competitor if they go to market, if they decide to launch a platform with your main competitor, for example. So that's how I would say, just focus on the business, go beyond the market product fit and focus on the other two fits, distribution and pricing fit, because that's what matters at the moment.
Okay, let's focus on that money angle a bit more. So let's go from mop analogies and pick and shovel AI to AI platform or pipeline solutions. My next question is, how can we, and that we being either health systems or individuals, afford prevention and precision medicine, as you alluded to a minute ago?
This is another of these big questions for which we are figuring out the answer. But, when there is a buzzword, it's always AI, prevention. People throw these words, but I think it's worth to analyze what we are talking about because everybody looks at the elephant from a different angle or might have a different perception of what we are talking about. I mean, because the first question is, does prevention save money? You seem to see a lot of headlines like prevention, save money together. Well, actually, it depends. It might not save money. It might save lives or quality of life, but it doesn't always save money because let's look at what is prevention really. Prevention is not early detection because it doesn't prevent you from having the disease. It just detects it early and maybe prevents you from developing something. So a mammography does not eradicate cancer. It just detects it on time. And this is where we talk here about 3 levels of prevention pathways, that people are, sometimes we mix them a bit, and I think it's good to take a step back and decide. I mean, there are 3 prevention pathways, and the difference impact the business models, in meaning who pays, why, and how. Because that's what we're talking about, yeah?
Mhm.
So number one, primary prevention. It prevents a condition in the first place. Example is a vaccination, yeah? We have that. Exercise, yeah? Maybe that's what people say. Number two, secondary prevention. And this is the one where you prevent the progression or impact of an existing disease or predisposition. For example, diet to control blood sugar for somebody with pre-diabetes, yeah? Number two. And number three, tertiary prevention is the one that manages the impact a disease may have on a person's life. Example, routine eye exams to detect early diabetic retinopathy. Sorry, it's just arguably when we talk about prevention, are we talking about the three? I think most people intuitively are talking about the first one, meaning that you are not sick, you don't have any precondition, yes, so you want to keep healthy, yeah, for as long as possible. And the thing is, the irony of that is that that first level of prevention is expensive. If we start like doing interventions at population health level on people who are technically healthy, I can guarantee you we will always advise people to follow more protocols, more things, do more checkups, because there's always something that you find that you need to check, yes? So it is more expensive for the health system to do it than not to do it. And this is the irony of that. I mean, but the question is not, does prevention save money? But how can we, whether that as a health system or individual, afford prevention and precision medicine? And then most specifically, a better question probably is, on second thoughts, what is the most cost-effective way to improve population health and save lives? By changing the question from saving money to what is the most cost-effective way to improve population health and save lives, you read the little print, population health, it means that maybe we should look at population health models, at PPPs, at other ways to do that, but also that the health system is looking at prevention not as a cost saving, but as an investment into, quality and daily and then socioeconomic benefits. So this is a bit what needs to happen. And I think the countries that are looking at that prevention from a population health planning perspective are on a good path, to find, the balance between paying for something we don't need, but that will be that we don't need now, but that will be very good in the long term.
Okay, so if we focus on this investment notion now, and I appreciate the sort of rewording from saving money to saving lives, absolutely categorically, but focusing on the investment, if we look at novel funding models, are perhaps family offices going to replace VCs as the main source of funding for startups? So we're going sort of back to the beginning of what we've been discussing with innovation and new treatment modalities through the funding models.
It's a really on-point question because, of course, this is not only about companies making their own money, they also need money to grow. And it goes in the antechamber of one felt impression is that the VC model doesn't always work for biotech and health tech. Why? Because they follow the power law, meaning this is a very good book I recommend you to read. And they need to exit fast. And actually, health tech and biotech, they need more patient capital. And they grow at a different rate or less fast than other sectors. So what you find there is that a lot of VCs don't fall in love too much with the health tech sector, so they don't provide a lot of money to that because they want quicker returns. And those who do, sometimes they can push the founders to modify, to scale faster than they should do, just because they need to, the incentives are not aligned. So in that line, who has patient capital? I mean, of course, you have angels and other modalities, but family offices would provide that patient capital that startups need. I'm basing this comment because I started to work with family offices during the pandemic. They found me to assess some portfolios, and that's how I discovered the family office world and what it could represent for our sector. And I give you some numbers for those of you who like numbers. According to Ernst & Young, private family capital is larger than private equity and venture capital combined and already surpasses the hedge industry in size. So at the moment, family offices currently manage more than $10 trillion in assets. Yes. And are they involved in startups or what they call alternative investments? They are, because according to, and these are numbers from 2024, 27% of all the startups investments are already backed by FOs. This is from Mentor.pc. So should we focus on family offices as an alternative source of funding for founders? Absolutely. Will that work in the same way as this is? No, because there will only be a few of those professionalized enough, to do their own investments or to do their own clubs, for investments. But at least they will choose the funds, and there will be a figure, because a lot of the 10,000 family offices have been born in the last 15 years. So they're remote savvy. So there will be a figure to contend with as a sort of funding. I do believe that in the same way that private equity and venture capital shook up the public markets in the early 80s, family offices could do the same. Still a question mark, but this is something that in some regions, like for instance the GCC, this is a force to contend with, because it's 80% of the businesses are family businesses.
Thank you, Pilar. So if we think of subsequent moments from now, and indeed these changes that are as yet still needed, my final question is, what is one word or phrase that, in your opinion, will define the future of health?
I would say this is my wish list, but I think is doable. I would just say 3 words. The future of health is frugal, accessible, and good. Frugal, because most of the world will not be able to afford all these sophistications that we're building for. So I think a lot of innovation is going to come from frugal countries like India or Africa. And we will consume that, by the way. We just need simple sometimes, going back to the mop analogy. Yeah. Accessible goes in line with frugal, because sometimes we need things that don't cost a lot of money, that don't cost a lot of effort, to overcome this infamous digital gap. The best solution sometimes will be the solutions you don't interact with. You enter in a hospital, they know about you. You don't need to have an app. You don't need to have nothing. Ambient apps, as I call it. We call about ambient AI or voice, ambient innovation. And good, because we should not compromise on quality. That we do frugal should not be at the cost of safety, in a balanced way. So it has to be that way. So frugal, accessible, and good. And looking at demographics, we will get there, because there's a lot of people who can only afford these 3 combinations together.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time today, Pilar. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And I'll see you very soon in Frontiers Health.
See you then. And that concludes another episode of the Pharma Forum podcast. You can find more information about this episode, including a download link and information about previous installments, at pharmaforum.com/podcasts. The Pharma Forum podcast is also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Podbean, and pretty much wherever else you download your other podcasts from. Just search for Pharma Forum and follow and hit subscribe. Of course, don't forget to visit our website itself, where you can sign up for daily and weekly news and analysis bulletins. And do follow us on Blue Sky and LinkedIn at Pharma Forum. That's all for now. Thank you for listening.